For most people, they won't learn this lesson until they actually get everything that they want, until they get the promotion and they realize that career is not for them, until they get that dream guy or dream girl and they realize that this is not the relationship that they want to be in, until they buy that big ass house and they realize how empty they are. If you are in your 20s, this is my advice to you. Number one, build up your assets in a very specific order. I became a millionaire when I was 26. I'm 30 now. I just turned 30 this week. My net worth is in the multiple millions, and technically I am financially free. There's two reasons for this. Number one, I started a business that ended up grossing over 10 million Canadian dollars in its lifetime. But more importantly, number two, I learned about the different types of assets that exist in life, and I was able to prioritize them in the right order. A mistake that a lot of young people make is they are in such a rush to build up their financial capital. They think that just by investing and just by saving money in their 20s is going to be enough to be rich. The truth is unless you are a trust fund baby and you already come from money, if you are someone who comes from lower income class family or middle income class family like I did, you need to be playing a whole different game. And that game is understanding the different types of leverages that you have and building those up first before you build up your financial capital. The first type of capital that you should be building up is your intellectual capital. This means with all the money that you're making and the time that you have, you should be investing in yourself and in your learning. Upskill yourself, deepen your knowledge. For example, when I was 16, I think I paid $12 to read my first personal development book. It was called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It completely changed my life. It changed the way that I navigated relationships, and it brought me a lot of opportunities, even just learning how to communicate. Nowadays, there's even better books out there and way more resources. But what you want to be doing is, if you don't have the money right now, you should be reading books, you should be listening to podcasts, to YouTube videos, to expand your knowledge and learn as many skills as possible, learn more about the world. Once you start making some money, you want to try to invest that into courses or mentors that can fast track your learning, fast track your skill development. The goal of building up your intellectual capital is for you to be perceived as someone who is valuable to the marketplace. Because once you have a sense of value, then you're going to be able to build up the second type of capital, which is your social capital. It's very hard to build up a really strong and rich network without having a sense of intellectual capital. And so in the process of you building up your intellectual capital, you want to find as many ways as possible to help people with your intellect, to help people with the skills that you've acquired. For me, in my career, I helped a lot of people through mentoring others, through offering my services and my resources to others, through eventually digitizing my intellectual capital. I started a YouTube channel, and through my videos, I just taught people everything that I was learning. And from there, when you build your intellectual capital, eventually people will notice you. You want to build yourself up to be a person that people can clearly see you are working on yourself and you are becoming a better person. And so eventually I built up my social capital, which is building my brand on YouTube. Now, you don't have to be a YouTuber to do this. If you are working a 9-to-5 and you're in a job right now, even you just helping your coworkers, going above and beyond, will get you noticed by upper management, who will then connect you to whoever. You want to build a strong network. And the reason why you want to do this is because the stronger network that you have, the stronger and richer social capital that you have, opportunities will come way faster and way easier for you. Once you've built up your social capital, the next type of capital that's going to be really easy for you to build is your human capital. Now, this is very specific to those of you who want to build a business, who have a specific project that you want to go deep on. But human capital is being able to recruit others into your cause so that you can scale up your time. And so in my case, when I built up my YouTube channel and I built up a brand for myself through helping so many people, it was a lot easier for me to find talent. There were people that wanted to work for me rather than me reaching out to other people. Now, of course, you don't need all of that. If you already have money, it'll be easy to hire out and outsource your time. But if you don't have money, having a strong social capital will help you get human capital a lot faster and a lot cheaper. Once you've built up your intellectual, your social, and your human capital, you'll naturally be at a place where you have more financial capital than other people in your age range. And this is where you can make life-changing money. Whereas if you don't have any of those other capitals, and let's say you only have $10,000, $20,000 in your bank account, Yes, you can save it, but it's gonna take a while for you to make life-changing money. And so instead, if you actually invested that in yourself and you built up the other capitals first, you're actually fast tracking your ability to potentially make your first 100,000 and then your next 100,000. And then eventually you may even get to a place where you're making $500,000 or $1 million. And that's life-changing money because you now have a way bigger principle to play with. And now with that money, you can invest in real estate, you can invest in the market, and it's gonna have a way bigger impact on your wealth strategy than if you tried to nickel and dime in your 20s. Second piece of advice, and that is work hard for everything that you've ever wanted, acquire all the things, make all the money, do it sooner rather than later, because the sooner that you can get everything that you've wanted, the sooner you will realize that none of that shit actually matters to you. There's a quote that I heard from Naval Ravikant, and it goes, "We have two lives. The second life begins when we realize that we only have one." Even though I made multiple millions in my 20s, I checked off all the boxes, I acquired all of the things, it wasn't until I did all of that where I had this epiphany that none of that stuff actually mattered to me. And it allowed me to live a more meaningful life or start living a more meaningful life. I am so grateful that I learned that in my 20s. And I'm so grateful that I built up all those capitals that I mentioned because it got me to a place where I became very successful on paper. And it got me to a place where I realized what truly mattered to me. It wasn't the house, it wasn't the Chanel bags, it wasn't the Porsche, it wasn't the multiple millions of dollars. And to get to that realization requires a lot of privilege. And the sooner that you can become a person of privilege, the sooner that you can create peace in your life and you can actually live the life that you want. Thanks to me hustling and grinding and accumulating all of that in my 20s, now I feel so grateful because I'm entering my 30s and I can make YouTube videos as a hobby. I don't have to make videos in order to make money technically. I do it because I love it. I can spend more time with my family and my friends while I'm still young and while they're still young. And that requires a lot of privilege. And so if you want to be a privileged person sooner, then you may want to just work hard to get what you want and learn that life lesson sooner for yourself. And this is a very controversial opinion. I already know there's going to be people saying, no, you should be peaceful right now, and you should be mindful right now, and you should live your life meaningfully right now. And I hope that you can do that. But I believe for most people, they won't learn this lesson until they actually get everything that they want, until they get the promotion and they realize that career is not for them, until they get that dream guy or dream girl and they realize that this is not the relationship that they want to be in, until they buy that big ass house and they realize how empty they are, until they have all the money in the bank and they realize that what they actually want is to spend more time with their mom and dad. The sooner that you can know this, the better. Next, everything is a projection. This video is a projection. I am projecting onto you. I am projecting my beliefs. I am projecting what I feel is important. I'm projecting my life experience onto you. But what I believe is true for me does not have to be true for you. And I wish that I knew this lesson sooner in my 20s than I did. I had to become someone who posts my life on the internet to learn this the hard way, because I am someone who gets multiple projections thrown at her every single day. And before, I used to take things very personally. I used to question myself a lot because of other people's opinions. I used to question if I was a good person. I used to question my skills. I used to question my experience. I used to question who I was because I couldn't discern other people's feedback. I couldn't discern and I couldn't understand that what other people were throwing at me was their life experience, was their knowledge, was their point of view, was their trauma, was their experience, but it didn't have to be mine. If someone doesn't like you, it doesn't have to mean anything about you. If someone has a limitation, it doesn't have to be your limitation. If someone has criticism, you can choose to take it on if you feel like it's actually gonna help you, or you can just let it go lovingly. You don't have to take everything on as truth. The sooner that you can understand what projections are and where they come from, the more mental peace that you will create for yourself. Stop idolizing. When I was in my 20s, I had a lot of fangirl energy. If you were older than me, I would fangirl. If you were more successful than me, I would fangirl. If I was given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, I would fangirl. I would even fangirl over material possessions. And I learned that you can be excited for something and you can have respect for something without lowering your status, without devaluing yourself, and without giving away your power. And when I was in my 20s, which was not too long ago, I used to give my power away to a lot of people. And I used to put a lot of things on a pedestal. I used to put people on a pedestal, opportunities on a pedestal, material items on a pedestal. I would slave for them. I would lower my value for them. I would do things that I'm not proud of for them. And I learned that the moment that you just stop idolizing things is also the moment that you create a lot more peace and freedom for yourself. You can doubt your work, but you shouldn't doubt yourself. I think it's completely normal to question the quality of your work, whether that's you submitting an assignment, whether that's you delivering a project to your boss or your client or the business that you're trying to build. I think without you criticizing your work, you wouldn't have room for improvement. But even if you are questioning your work, you shouldn't question yourself ever. You shouldn't question the value that you bring to the table. You shouldn't question the value of who you are as a human being outside of your business, outside of your work. You shouldn't question the potential that you have in this life. A mistake I often made was I made my work mean something about me as a human being. And this often led me to a dangerous path of self-sabotage. It would lead me to depressive moments, unnecessary anxiety. And I think it's important for you to be able to separate your self-worth from the work that you're producing, especially if you're an entrepreneur or especially if you're an online personality and you're trying to be an influencer and you're doing all those things that are so tied to you personally. You need to find a way to really separate that, because you're robbing yourself of so much peace and happiness